It is generally agreed that employees performing similar tasks should not be compensated based on gender. Specifically, women should not be paid less than men simply because they are women. But some of the origins for such practices do not simply involve unfair discrimination as many contend. Some of the origins involve cultural and social beliefs and practices that place a greater value on the lives of women than that of men. This involves some of the reasons, apart from physiology. Women statistically enjoy a longer expected lifespan than that of men. Traditionally, men have certain stressful situations and responsibilities women generally have not had, been expected to perform the tasks considered to be high risk, dangerous, and detrimental to one's health. Taken jobs considered too dirty, too difficult, and too demeaning for women. Taken the jobs where death and injury were likely. Traditionally, men have been expected to die in order to save women. Women have not generally been expected to give up their lives to save men. Women and children first. Also, men have had much greater financial responsibilities. Traditionally, they have been expected to be the sole provider of the family. Also expected to handle financial expenditures while dating. As to financial responsibilities, certain expectations, and high-risk jobs, what is expected of men has been disproportionate to that of women. That is one of the reasons men were being paid more than women. To some extent, men needed more money because of their greater responsibilities supporting their women and families. It was not always simply discrimination against women, sometimes just the opposite. Men and women are very different in many ways. Women generally perform better at some tasks, as do men at others. Expecting gender equality in some situations is absurd. In other situations, gender equality should be practiced as being fair and logical. In a typical marathon, men outperform women by far. This shouldn't be any way considered unflattering about women. Men and women are different, and women outperform men in many other situations. But in the case of a marathon, the most significance and excitement of the event deals with the first few contestants crossing the finish line. In a typical large marathon, the first few winners are expected to be men. Accordingly, most of the emphasis has been with the leading men. In order to better recognize the achievements of the women contestants and add to the enjoyment, women have been recognized separately from the men. After the first man has crossed the finish line, many look forward to seeing who will be the first woman to complete the race. If it were just about the winners, without regard to gender, the achievements of the women would not be as significant. In the past, it was normal for the first person, a man, crossing the finish line to receive a larger prize than that of the first woman, crossing the line behind several men. Some people objected to that, stating both men and women should be treated equally. In actuality, that is somewhat artificial and a contradiction. With true equality, which in some situations is absurd, women would not be awarded any of the major prizes. True equality would be to recognize the first few runners crossing the finish line regardless of gender. In other words, there are those that demand true equality while at the same time demanding preferential treatment for women. Men and women are neither totally superior to each other nor totally equal to each other. Seeking complete equality is absurd because of the reality of the differences. Many just pick and choose what serves their best interests and objectives. Women should not be paid less simply because they are women. Some say it is simply unfair discrimination against women. Sometimes it is, but with a broader perspective, it is sometimes part of a larger order. An order that includes the lives of women being considered more important than that of men. And for some, that is the ultimate case of self-discrimination against men. Virtually putting an end to the gender pay gap would be beneficial in different ways. Also, it could be helpful in understanding some of the reasons certain customs, practices, discrimination exist. Often it is not as simple as it may appear to some. Mitigating factors could present other aspects that should be addressed as well, although more likely not, if contrary to the prevailing interests and objectives.